The boy stood alone at the edge of the town's dirt road, where the last light of day stretched long over the plains. Dust clung to his clothes, and the wind teased the uneven strands of his dark hair. His small shoulders hunched as if carrying the weight of every whispered rumor about him, rumors that called him cursed. Passers-by crossed the street, spat into the dust, or muttered under their breath. None dared meet his eyes. Children ran past with hurried steps, their small hands clutching their mother's skirts, afraid even to glance at him. Samuel had learned long ago that looking back invited trouble, or at least more whispers. He fiddled with the small bone tied to a cord around his neck. His fingers were pale from gripping it so tightly. It was the only thing left of his mother, who had died the night he was born, leaving behind the weight of suspicion and misfortune that had clung to him ever since. The sound of hooves broke the quiet. A lone rider appeared on the horizon, dust trailing behind him. Elias Crow, a man who carried years on his sun-worn shoulders and secrets in his tired blue eyes, eased his horse into the town. His coat was faded and worn, boots caked with layers of long-traveled dust. He surveyed the place briefly, then caught the boy's gaze. Samuel did not flinch. He had grown used to being avoided, stared at, or whispered about. But there was something different about this man, a calm steadiness, a presence that did not carry judgment. What's your name, boy? Elias asked, voice low and unhurried. Samuel. The boy replied after a moment, cautious and precise. You look like you've been through a lot, Elias said, his gaze gentle but assessing. You hungry? Samuel's eyes darted to the general store, then the empty street, and he shook his head. Just looking, he muttered. Elias nodded slowly, understanding. Some pain didn't need explanation. A woman passed by, glancing at Samuel, lips pressing into a thin line. Best stay away from him, she hissed without lowering her voice. He brings nothing but trouble. Elias watched her walk on. Trouble isn't born with a boy, he said quietly. Samuel's fingers tightened around the bone. He had heard that before. But people say I am cursed, he whispered. Elias crouched slightly, leveling his eyes with Samuel's. People say a lot of things, doesn't make them true. Their conversation was interrupted by laughter of mocking from the far end of the street. Two men leaned against the saloon, their eyes narrowing on Samuel. There he is, one shouted. The little devil himself. Samuel froze. Elias stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. The boy flinched, but did not move. Away. You don't have to go with them, Elias said. You can stay right here, or come with me. The men advanced, and the air thickened with tension. Dust swirled in the fading sun. The town watched silently from behind half-closed doors. Go on, Elias murmured to Samuel. Head somewhere safe. Samuel looked up at him, fear flickering across his small features. There ain't nowhere safe, he said softly. Elias did not release his hand. Then you'll ride with me, he said. A long, tense silence followed as the men hesitated. Then, with a begrudging grunt, they backed away toward the saloon, leaving Samuel and Elias alone in the street. Elias lifted Samuel into the saddle, placing him in front. The boy gripped the horn with both hands, eyes wide, heart hammering. Why? Samuel asked softly. Elias looked straight ahead at the open plains. Because someone should have done it for me once, he said. The sun dipped below the horizon. Shadows. The night air carried the dry scent of grass and dust as Elias guided his horse out of town. Samuel clung to the saddle horn, tense, shoulders hunched, eyes darting to every shadow. The plain stretched wide, pale under the first touch of moonlight, empty except for the distant cry of coyotes and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures. Elias kept the horse slow, measured, letting Samuel's small body adjust to the rhythm of the ride. He glanced at the boy, noting the bruise along his jaw, the way his fingers tightened around the cord and bone at his neck. Fear was natural, distrust even more so. But what worried Elias most was how alone Samuel had learned to be. They rode past low hills and dry creek beds, the silence pressing like a weight. Where are we going? Samuel asked finally, voice small. Somewhere quiet, Elias said. A place to rest, a place where no one will call you cursed for a night. The boy said nothing, but he leaned slightly into the motion of the horse, as if accepting the promise without fully trusting it. As dawn broke, painting the plains with pale gold, Elias spotted a hollow lined with cottonwoods. The creek that ran through it was thin, but clear. He eased the horse down the slope, letting Samuel slide off first. The boy's legs wobbled beneath him, small and unpracticed. Elias steadied him with a hand at the shoulder. They made a small fire, low and careful, the smoke curling lazily into the morning air. Samuel crouched nearby, fingers tightening around the bone as he watched Elias move. The older man tore bread from his pack and handed half to Samuel. The boy took it, hesitated, then nibbled slowly, savoring each bite as though unsure it was safe. Elias sat opposite him. "You ever ridden long before?" he asked. Samuel shook his head. "Just watched," he admitted. "You did fine," Elias said. The boy's lips twitched, almost a smile, before settling back into serious lines. "People say bad things happen when I'm around," he murmured, barely above the crackle of the fire. Elias poked at the coals. "People say a lot," he said quietly. "My ma said it too," Samuel said, voice trembling. Before she went, Elias swallowed. "Quiet, some pain didn't need pressing." The wind shifted, carrying a faint sound over the hollow distant hoofbeats. Elias's head snapped up. "Listen," he said. Samuel stiffened beside him. From the ridge above, figures appeared, 3 in number, horses kicking up dust as they descended. Elias's chest tightened. He could see the intent in their posture, in the way their hands hovered near rifles. "Boys. Ours," the lead man called, voice carrying across the hollow. "Step aside if you value your hide." Elias didn't move. "He's no one's to take," he said. "Calm, steady." Samuel pressed closer, small hand brushing Elias's arm. Fear shone in his eyes. Elias's hand rested lightly on the boy's shoulder. "When I say, duck," he murmured. "Don't move until I do." The men circled, rifles trained. But Elias held his ground, eyes flicking between Samuel, the terrain, and the approaching riders. One mistake could cost them both everything. "Step aside," the leader repeated, tone sharper. "No," Elias said. For a heartbeat. The hollow held its breath. The horses pawed at the earth. Dust rising, the tension thick enough to taste. Then, a distant crack of rifle from the ridge beyond caught the attackers off guard. Heads snapped up, confusion flashing. Elias seized the moment. "Now," he shouted. Samuel ducked behind a boulder as Elias fired, aiming to disarm, not kill. Chaos erupted. The riders scrambled. One fell, the others scattered. Elias's pulse raced, but his hand stayed steady on his revolver, protective, measured. When silence returned, Samuel emerged trembling, but unharmed. Elias crouched, brushing a streak of dust from the boy's hair. "You all right?" he asked. Samuel nodded, words failing him. His wide eyes followed Elias as he scanned the ridge. The threat had passed, but the lesson remained. Survival demanded courage, trust, and the willingness to stand when fear wanted them to run. Elias helped Samuel onto the horse again. "We keep moving," he said. "The world's a little kinder when we ride it together." The plain stretched before them, open and indifferent. Yet for the first time, Samuel did not feel invisible. The weight of whispered curses had lifted slightly, replaced by something unfamiliar, hope. Plains with a relentless glare, dust hung in the air like haze, curling around every rock and tuft of dry grass. Elias kept the horse steady, scanning the horizon. Samuel sat in front of him, gripping the horn tightly, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and lingering fear. "Why'd they come after us?" Samuel asked, voice low. Elias did not answer immediately. "Some men see what they want," he said finally, "and they don't care who it belongs to or who gets hurt." The boy shivered but said nothing, letting the words settle. Hours passed. The land rolled out in waves of pale gold and brown. The only sounds were the hooves against dry earth and the soft whisper of wind through grass. Then, from the far ridge, a column of dust appeared. Not one rider, not 3 but a dozen, riding. Fast, determined. Elias's hand brushed the revolver at his hip. Samuel noticed the tension and instinctively leaned closer. "It's them," the boy whispered. Elias's jaw tightened. "Stay low, follow my lead." The riders drew closer, shouting names Samuel did not recognize. Guns were drawn. Their intent was clear. They had come to take him, to prove the town right, to make good their threats. Elias guided the horse into a narrow wash, its walls low but enough to give some cover. Samuel pressed against him, small and rigid, trusting him completely. The first shots rang out, kicking up dirt and stone, splintering the silence of the plain. Elias fired carefully, aiming to keep the attackers at bay rather than kill. One rider fell from his horse, clutching a shoulder. Others hesitated, giving Elias a narrow window to maneuver. He nudged Samuel to the side, moving behind a rock, feeling the boy tremble against him. "You've got to trust me," Elias said, voice tight. "I do," Samuel cried, his fingers clutching the bone at his neck. More shots rang. Elias returned fire, precise and controlled, forcing the riders back step by step. The hollow became a blur of dust, movement, and shouted threats. Every heartbeat counted. Every choice could mean survival or death. Then, as suddenly as it began, the attackers faltered. The lead man's horse reared slightly, the others following instinctively. They exchanged nervous glances, realizing the fight was slipping away from them. Slowly, they began to retreat, dust rising behind them like a ghost of their threat. Elias kept his gun trained on them until they were gone. Only when the last horse disappeared over the ridge did he lower his weapon. Samuel's knees buckled. Elias caught him, easing him down to the ground. "You all right?" The boy nodded, still shaking. I thought you made it," Elias said. "Because you didn't run. You trusted me, and I trusted you." Samuel's small hand brushed against Elias's as he steadied himself. It was a moment of connection, fragile but real. For the first time, Samuel felt someone's presence not as danger, but as protection. They rested there a while, letting the adrenaline fade. Elias poured water from the canteen, letting Samuel drink first. The boy's hands shook less now, his breathing evening out. "Why did you help me?" Samuel asked softly. Elias looked out across the plains, eyes narrowing against the harsh sun. "Because no one should face that kind of fear alone," he said. Samuel nodded slowly. He tucked the bone back around his neck, feeling its weight, but also feeling something else now, a small spark of hope that perhaps he could belong somewhere, with someone who chose to stand by him. Elias mounted first, then helped Samuel up. As they rode away from the wash, the wind stirred the plains around them. Danger had come and gone, but a bond had been forged in the dust and gunfire, and somewhere ahead, amidst the vast, wild land, Samuel began to understand that even in a harsh world, human kindness could carve a place for him. The afternoon sun slanted low, painting the plains in streaks of gold and shadow as Elias guided the horse toward a thin line of trees by a shallow creek. Samuel's hands, once tight on the saddle horn, now rested loosely, fingers brushing the leather as if testing whether it could hold him steady. His eyes followed Elias constantly, trying to read the man who had protected him from men who meant to do harm. Elias dismounted first, lifting Samuel down carefully. The boy's legs wobbled, fatigue and tension coiling together, but he did not complain. Instead, he watched Elias move, noticing the careful way he checked the horse, the way he scanned the surroundings without hurry, the way he spoke softly to the animal. They walked to the creek's edge, water clear and shallow, reflecting the golden light. Samuel knelt, dipping his hands in, letting the cool touch wash over his dirt-streaked fingers. He splashed lightly, and a small laugh escaped him before he caught himself. "You're smiling," Elias said, crouching beside him. Samuel shook his head quickly, cheeks flushed. I didn't mean to," he whispered. "Doesn't matter," Elias said, his tone soft but firm. "A laugh is a good thing. You need it after today." The boy studied him, eyes hesitant, then slowly allowed himself to lean against Elias's shoulder. The gesture was small, almost imperceptible, but it spoke volumes of fragile trust, a willingness to be seen without fear. Elias didn't push, didn't speak, simply let the moment exist. You know," Samuel said after a while, voice quiet, "no one's ever stayed with me before, not like this." Elias nodded. "I know." He glanced out over the plains, watching the light bend against the horizon. Some folks judge before they know. Some folks see what they fear instead of what's real. But it doesn't mean you're cursed. Samuel's fingers toyed with the bone at his neck, twisting it lightly. "My ma, she said it'd keep me safe, but she couldn't stay. And people, they didn't want me." Elias's gaze softened. "Then let me help you carry it, not the bone, but the weight, the fear, the whispers. You don't have to do it alone anymore." The boy looked up at him, eyes wide and glistening. "Really?" "Really," Elias said. He offered a small hand. "We ride together. You learn, I learn. We look out for each other." Samuel hesitated, only a moment before placing his small hand over Elias's. It was unsteady, but determined. The trust he had buried for so long was taking root, fragile yet undeniable. They sat there by the creek until the sun dipped lower, sharing the quiet. No words were needed beyond the small gestures, the hand resting lightly, the shared laughter, the way Elias let Samuel lean into him without shame. The plains stretched endlessly around them, indifferent to their lives, yet for the first time, Samuel felt like someone had chosen him. Night fell, stars pricking the sky. The creek murmured beneath the moonlight, and for the first time, Samuel's small voice spoke without fear. Do you think I could belong somewhere? Elias rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. You already do, he said. Right here, right now, with me. That's a start. Samuel leaned back, eyes on the sky, letting himself imagine a future that didn't include whispers or curses. Elias watched him, chest heavy with the quiet pride of a man who had chosen to protect another, knowing that some battles weren't won with gun or grit, but with patience, presence, and human connection. The night deepened, and the wind carried the faint scent of wood smoke from a distant homestead. For the first time since birth, Samuel felt a kind of belonging, a fragile, quiet miracle amid the harshness of the Old West. The first light of dawn broke across the plains, pale and soft, spilling gold over dry grass and low hills. Elias and Samuel rode slowly, the horses' hoofs kicking up small clouds of dust. The night had been quiet, almost too quiet, but the boy's small hand rested lightly on Elias's arm, steady now, no longer trembling. Ahead, a farmhouse appeared, smoke curling lazily from the chimney, the kind of place that promised warmth, food, and perhaps a measure of safety. Samuel's eyes widened. We can stop there, he asked, voice small, almost afraid to hope. Elias nodded. For today, yes, tomorrow, we'll see. They approached the house, cautious but weary. A woman appeared on the porch, apron dusted with flour, hands resting on the railing. Her eyes widened at the sight of them. A boy and a rugged man, dusty and tired. But she did not recoil. You look like you've been through hell, she said softly. Samuel looked down at his boots, unsure how to answer. Elias gave a faint, reassuring nod. Just traveling, he said. The woman's gaze lingered on Samuel. He's yours? Elias shook his head. He's ours. We look after each other. The woman stepped aside. You're welcome here. There's food inside, and my husband will help with the horses. Samuel's shoulders eased slightly. He glanced at Elias. Really? Really? Elias said. Inside, the smell of bread and stew wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Samuel helped set the table, still cautious but smiling faintly. Elias poured water into cups, letting the boy drink first. Afterward, they stepped onto the porch as the sun lowered, stretching the shadows of the house long across the plains. Samuel leaned lightly against Elias, a gesture of trust and comfort. You didn't call me cursed, he said softly, voice almost lost in the evening breeze. Elias smiled faintly. Never did. Bad luck isn't a person's fault. You're no curse, Samuel, just a boy who needed someone to stand with him. Samuel looked at the first glimmer of moonlight rising over the plains, hope shining in his eyes. Do you think I could belong somewhere? You already do, Elias said. With me, right now. That's the start. The boy's hand brushed against Elias's, not letting go. The plains behind them were wide, uncertain, and harsh. Yet for the first time, Samuel felt that someone had chosen him not as a burden, not as a problem, but as family. Elias watched the boy, chest heavy with quiet pride. Some battles weren't won with gunfire or grit. They were won with trust, patience, and presence. And in the Old West, that was as rare and as vital as any treasure. The stars pricked the sky as night fell. Samuel leaned into Elias, letting himself be held without fear. The cowboy beside him, weathered and cautious, rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. The plains stretched on endlessly, but for the first time, both felt they could meet it together. In that quiet, golden hour between day and night, they had found what so many never did, a place, a bond, and a fragile, enduring hope.